Hey guys, I am back. I'm gonna change up a couple of things. I think my mic is creating a lot of interference, so I'm gonna switch over to headphones and use the MacBook's mic, and I'm gonna test this out. All right. So we are reading um, for the past week. I've been reading from Steve Chandler's book, "Shift Your Mind, Shift the World," and I'm gonna get straight to it. We're on chapter 22. Chapter 22 is you know how to do commitment. I love people who say done when you request something. Look at how time disappears when that happens. When the person is committed, the task is not going to be done in the future. It's done already. Done even before it's done. The task is no longer in the past or in the future. Because with commitment, there is no more time. That's why tenses are meaningless in the face of a commitment. Can you coach me by phone Friday at 3 p.m.? Someone asks. And I say, no, I will have just gotten off my plane to New York. Look at that weird tense. Will have just gotten. It's striving to express something definite and guaranteed. What you're seeing is my commitment to be in New York. It makes mincemeat of time and tense. People say, I'm in New York that week. That's present tense. Why use present tense when it's the future? Because commitment is there. Commitment makes it already done right now, even though it is technically going to happen in the future. I know I am going to be on that plane. I've made that commitment. Therefore, in my mind, I'm already there. My mind can shift time, and time is the stuff life is made of. That's the beauty of a created commitment. Certainty arrives, and certainty is so different than belief. The etymological root of belief is to fervently hope something is true. To try to believe in yourself is to fervently hope you can do what you say you can do. But a commitment is different. It's the internal voice that says, I am certain I am doing this. No matter what, no matter how hard, this is already done. All right. Chapter 23. What would shift my self esteem? Knowing the kinds of communication that raise your self esteem and the kinds that lower your self esteem can be a wonderful guideline to how you live your day, because then you can shift from one to the other. Anytime your spoken messages, texts, emails, and voicemails lift another person's spirits, you raise your own self esteem because your self of separateness from others will drop away. The illusion that you are living in isolation disappears. You begin to realize that we are all one team. And while you enjoy assisting others, you don't mind going against the flow and being your own person either. You aren't out to please anybody. So you are free to create your independence. You become more self reliant by not always trying to fit in. By being willing to buck the trends, your self esteem rises. Here's an obituary I read a little while ago that illustrated this point to me. It was for Sir John Templeton. Look what self-esteem did to fill his sails during his very full life. He trusted himself to always see the gift inside every problem. From The Economist in London. If on any day over the past few decades you had chanced to be strolling in the early morning at Lyford Cay in the Bahamas, you might have seen a wiry, determined figure power walking in the sea. Keen as a whippet, his thin arms pumping, he headed into the prevailing swell. In his 80s, he would do an hour of this. In his 90s, he still managed 25 minutes. Sir John Templeton spent his life going against the flow. In September 1939, when the war-spooked world was selling, he borrowed $10,000 to buy 100 shares in everything that was traded for less than $1 a share on the New York Stock Exchange. All but four eventually turned profits. In early 2000, conversely, he sold all his .com and NASDAQ tech stocks just before the market crashed. His iron principle of investing was to buy when others are despondently selling and to sell when others are greedily buying. At the point of maximum pessimism, he would enter and clean up. Self-esteem comes from the optimism I allow to bloom inside of me while not buying into the maximum pessimism of others. Chapter 24. A spotless mind will shift faster. There's a quote here. Don't concern yourself with the faults of others. Use the scouring powder of wisdom to keep the roots of your own mind bright and spotless. By your example, other persons will be inspired to do their own housekeeping. Paramahansa Yogananda. Unexpected benefits come when I lose interest in the faults of others. Soon I'm back into my own energy and creativity, doing small things mindfully. Surprising opportunities are offered to me when I forget about judging other people, even if just for a moment. Because now, free of their faults, I can put my heart and soul into serving them and caring about them. What did criticizing others accomplish? Were they ever grateful for it? Or do people hate, fear, and avoid being criticized and judged? One thing I do know about people, they absolutely love being inspired. Why not just have that be my simple playbook? Chapter 25. My terror was you'd set me free. There is a radical, controversial, powerful poet named Frederick Seidel. At the beginning of a recent book I wrote, I used his lines. Don't cure me, sickness is my me. My terror was you'd set me free. I think those lines express so beautifully what happens when we go to a coach or a therapist or a mentor. We don't really want to be cured of our sick beliefs because we think that's who we are. We get confused and think that our sickness is our identity. If I lose that, maybe I'll be nothing. Don't cure me. Sickness is my me. The second line by the poet says, my terror was you'd set me free. I know that terror. I felt it before going to Byron Katie's 9-day school. Many people assume Katie is some kind of diaphanous being, a new age priestess with feel good, pseudo spiritual rituals for the gullible. Well, not really. Her work asks that the worker of the work bring great courage to the party. She calls it the great undoing. One woman stood up halfway through the school and said, I feel like I'm going to die. And Katie said, let's hope you do. How cruel a thing to say, or so it would seem. But Katie merely wanted that woman's false identity to die so that her true, healthy, infinite being would be set free to just love everything. Terrifying. Sickness was my me. My terror was she'd set me free. I like these words from John Lennon from a desolate song he wrote called Isolation. People say we got it made. Don't they know we're so afraid? People thought John and Yoko had it made. They had fame and fortune. They could do anything they wanted. While you and I, who screams for us? And we do things because we have to. The Beatles had it made. So why then were they so afraid? Why? Can we even imagine the painful isolation that comes with fame? People loving you for all the wrong reasons. People loving you not because of their true experience of the real you, but because of the fame you have. The mere name and face recognition. Hey, look, isn't that one of the Beatles? Or is it one of the Beastie Boys? What does it matter? I've just seen a face. Can I have your autograph? I want to be able to show it to people back home. I want them to see that I saw someone whose face is famous. What? You're having dinner with your wife? What are you, some kind of snob? Better than someone like me? No wonder it feels like isolation. No wonder he's saying, don't they know we're so afraid? But the antidote to all of this isolation and fear is sweet and fun to watch being put into play. The fearless life is no more than this fearless moment, the one your mind will always shift to when you finally know about it. Soon you'll become inseparable from the gentle awareness that shifts your mind to joy. You won't be upset even when your brain is grinding out in gear of personal thought and worry. You'll see it and smile. It's just a train of thought. It's not who you are. If you can see the train, you're not the train. Just as in real life, if you're watching a train pull out of the station, you are not on that train. It's no longer a mystery to understand that a train of thought is only that, not who I am. But when I believe my thoughts, they become like the mystery train in the song written by Junior Parker and recorded by Elvis, the band, and the Doors. Train, train, rolling down the line. Well, it took my baby and left poor me behind. Chapter 26. Considering becoming a millionaire? Quote, being a millionaire is the best possible thing you can do for society. If you have more, you have more to give. If you are financially independent, then you will not be a financial burden on others. Contrary to what you have been led to believe, your dream of being a millionaire is extremely virtuous. John R. Colt. Well, that sure goes against everything. Don't we just envy and despise millionaires? My friend Matt Fury has helped more people become prosperous than anyone I know. He lives half the year in China and has obtained a true perspective on how that country has evolved toward progress. In a recent email from over there, Matt wrote, China changed its direction when they stopped redistributing the wealth and did as Deng Xiaoping advised. What did he advise? Two things. To grow rich is glorious, and two, yi tu fen ren, qian fu qilai. Translation for number two. If you want the country to prosper, you must let few people get rich at a time. You cannot make everyone rich or prosperous at the same time. Many of my clients carry a strange guilt about plotting their own financial success. The moment I ask them to picture a successful, prosperous future for themselves, they get nervous. What about the people who aren't prosperous? Won't it hurt their feelings if I get rich? Matt Fury continued. The other day, my wife, Jani, told me something I didn't know about her early days in China before we married. When I worked in the factory in China, before the government opened the door and let people make money, she said, everyone got the same pay no matter what. It was $35 a month. So we took our knitting needles to work, and everyone knitted when they were supposed to be working. Everyone in my family can knit blankets, sweaters, clothes, you name it. And we'd go home for lunch and stay late, or we'd sneak outside and play around. We did as little as possible. Everyone was this way. No one worked hard. Everyone told you not to do your best because it didn't matter anyway. You got paid the same no matter what. Matt is an expert martial artist and physical trainer, and he's also an expert on teaching people to use the internet to serve people and become wealthy. He is gifted in teaching the proper mind shifts necessary for pessimists to turn their lives around and create prosperity. He isn't very happy with the US government right now. Right now, they're imagining nothing but crisis and catastrophe, and they're creating more of it with each passing day. But I wonder what would happen if they changed what they're imagining, what they're communicating, and gave people optimism and hope instead of fear and despair. The shift Matt recommends will happen, not from a major government pronouncement, but inside one person at a time, starting with you, and then me, and then the next person we share optimism with. All right, guys, we'll stop there and we'll read chapter 27. Let's see. This is my last night for this week. I'll probably be back Sunday night. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream, and I will